how exciting to have you here. Honestly, Nemi Caceres, aka N Caceres, author about to basically put her novel out in the world, Obsidian Feathers, which is a dark fantasy romance. I want to know everything about it. Tell me everything about your novel right now.
It has everything. It has Central American mythology. It has dark romance. It has an epic battle between two different clans of creatures. It has a mythological creature that I grew up with. Like, my family is from El Salvador, and like, we're from the town that I actually set the book in, which is Chinameca in San Miguel. And like, there's like literally every week I get a call from my grandpa saying, "Hey, I just saw another conejo," like da 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 da, and I'm like, "Oh God, really?
El conejo?
El conejo, yeah."
Oh my, stop. Of course, because you're neighbors with me. You're from El Salvador, I'm from Nicaragua, so I could, oh my God, you based this on El conejo?
That's the creatures.
I'm obsessed.
Those are the creatures, and I brought not just El negro conejo, but El blanco as well.
Oh my God, so you really went in.
I went in like deep in. So I set the world in sort of this, like, it's technically modern El Salvador, but like, I didn't want to deal with the pandemic, so it's in this alternative timeline where like the pandemic is not a thing.
Give us a break. We have enough.
We didn't want it. And then there's also like, so I deal with a lot of Salvadorian history. I talk about El Mazote and the Civil Wars, and I talk a lot about the wars on the indigenous people, and talk a lot about all of that while it's woven into the actual fantasy setting of it, where El Perejo is actually a version of creatures that were born of ancient Olmeca gods from a curse, and they live on the volcanoes, and they're like these volcanic guardians of the spirit realm, and there's all these powers and magic, and then there's these fighting between the two. And then there's also the overlapping of the different indigenous cultures. There's Azteca, there's Lenca, which is my own tribe. There is all sorts of tribal, like, indigenous legends that are woven in. And it's a 4.5 book series. And before the end of it, we are going to meet a lot of gods.
Oh, I'm obsessed. There's nothing that I love more than mythological, like Central American, Latin American, like myth. Because you grew up, listening to all those stories.
All of it.
But I'm really, really surprised you are really touching El Mozote. I did. Did I text you the other day and tell you that The Wind Knows My Name by Isabel Allende touched on it on her newest book that is
you did.
I told you, I was like, Nemi, the first person that came to my, have to tell Nemi, like, because you and I were talking about it, because we are the ones that know, because obviously we are, descendant. I come from Nicaragua, so I know what El Mozote was, but a lot of people have no clue what that is. And the fact that you're putting that in your novel, because that was
so I used El Mazote as the trigger for the children, the prologue. Why is this person who is a supernatural creature who's very territorial and very much connected to their territory, why are they in the United States to meet the main character? And I was like, this is a perfect way to bring in El Mazote and touch on El Mazote. And him and all of the children from his village are in San Francisco because the parents sent them away just in case El Mazote happened again somewhere else, and so that they wouldn't get trapped. And I had a lot of cousins who that story is their story. They grew up in San Francisco.
Survivors.
They grew up in San Francisco with me and with my family that was living here in the United States, because their family sent them away just in case, because you didn't know what was going to happen.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't know what happened. So this is like one of the things that when I say like how important it is for our people to tell our stories, this is one of the reasons. And I think when you told me that you were going to include that in your book, because we talked a while back about your book, and I was just like, I need your book like right now. I need a good dark fantasy romance that I'm going to be able to relate to without having to give the extra work of having to put someone that looks like me in the pages. Yes. So I'm loving it. I can't believe you actually did that, because that's a very sensitive topic to do. So I can't wait to read it. Oh.
I was very sensitive about it. So I don't just talk about Amazote. I also talk about the Civil Wars. And I talk about the coffee plantations and what that did to the indigenous people.
Yeah.
And I talk about it when it comes to Amazote, I mention it. I talk about it in a way of like, this happened.
Yeah.
This is why I was there. But I don't get into the grisly details, because I don't think that's sensitive. I don't think that's necessary.
Yes.
And it didn't. I look at when it comes to dealing with very sensitive topics like that, I ask myself, does this support the narrative? Does this make the story richer?
Yeah.
Does it do something for the characters? And if not, is it just trauma porn? And I don't want to do trauma porn. It's usury instead of
I think it's a really very thoughtful of you to do so like that, because you actually can speak from that, because your family comes from that trauma. But it's also the fact that you're just going to touch very respectfully on it, but that will keep people wondering, wait, what is that? And go out of their way to go and learn about it, and learn history, which is our history, that it's really not spoken out of. People don't want to, because the Mozote was ignored for over 10 years before it was actually exposed to the world. So I'm happy you actually doing that.
And up until really Bukele, it was an open festering wound.
Yeah.
Bukele is the one who finally said, we know what's gone on. We're done. We're done protecting these people. This chapter needs to be closed so that we can start healing as a people. When he started striking people's names from the halls, I was like, okay, he's serious. He's serious.
Business right there. But also, for those of you who are listening, check out Nemi's website, which I'm going to include on my bio as well. She has all the content warnings for you to go and check them out. Like, this is one of the things that I love about authors, is that they provide you with absolutely, because your list, you detail everything. Like, I was reading, I was like, oh, Nemi, good job. Good job. Because you need to, there's readers out there that are not mentally, emotionally prepared to read certain things. And it's great to know that you took the time to nitpick every single one of them and added there in your list. And so thank you for that.
You're welcome. And to me, it's not something that should be thanked. It should be an expectation. It should be a professional expectation. It should be a professional standard. I would rather someone not read my book and be totally fine than to read my book and be harmed.
Yeah.
Because that's not fun for me. Like, it's not fun for me to know that I've caused somebody reopening trauma wounds. That's not what I want. That's not at all what I want. There will be other books that you can read. There will be other situations and scenarios that we can have fun and kiki about. I don't need to traumatize you. I don't need to harm you in order to connect with you as a reader. Exactly. And the one on my website is actually ever evolving. You'll notice that there's actually an email address there, so that if you read my book and you say, this situation happens here, and it's not covered in the trigger warnings, I'm going to email her about it. If you email me about it, I'm going to put it back on my website, and it's going to be updated, and I'm going to update the ebook like that.
Thank you for taking the time to actually listen to your readers, because you and I are very well aware and familiar with authors who do not really care for their readers. They just want their book, and they're not doing anything wrong, and it is what it is for them. But it shouldn't be like that, because we're here reading your books. Like, the least that you can do is like listen to us.
If I'm going to crack my chest open and allow you unfettered access to the soft, squishy bits underneath it, then I should expect you to treat me with the same care that I'm going to treat you with. Like, there has to be an understanding here.
I wanted to know why, because this is your debut novel.
Mm-hmm.
What happened that Nemi said, I need to write this story? Where did it all begin?
It began on a Facebook, like I had no plans, none, zero plans of
They all
writing
say
books.
that.
Literally didn't. I didn't. As a matter of fact, had you asked me on February 10th, I know the birth date of my book.
Wow. Of 2022?
Of 2022. If you had asked me on February 10th, 2022, if I was planning on writing a book, I'd have told you, no, I've got too much. Do you see my TBR? Absolutely. I don't have time for that. But February 11th, I was wandering through a Facebook group, a literature actually, and they had posted a prompt for a writing prompt. And I was just like, I'm going to do this. And I do my little thumb warrior thing. and I send out an answer, and I still have the post that I responded to.
Stop.
I still have it. On its birthday, you'll see it, because I'm going to post a TikTok.
Oh, please do.
With its now that I have like all the cover and everything, I'm going to do like an actual like birthday post for it. And I did my little keyboard warrior and went to bed. And woke up the next morning, and my response, which was just me farting around, had over 1,000 likes. It had multiple awards. It had an entire like novel worth of responses of people going, I need it right now. Give me, give me, give me. And I was just like, I don't, what? And so then over the next week or two, I wrote the prologue and gave it to the people that were responding to that. And they were like, I need you to write all of this right now.
How bananas.
I had no framework. I had no guts. I didn't know anything about the world. And my best friend and I sat down, and over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks, we worked out the entire world. We figured out what pieces are going to come in. We figured out what storylines were going to happen. We figured out the smexy scenes. We figured out like the whole world.
Shout out to the bestie.
Yes, the bestie. There's a reason why he's in the acknowledgements, because he has been forced to listen to a lot of trash talk.
Oh, stop it. I'm pretty sure they are fine.
Yes, he's fine. He loves it. He actually just got his ARC copy last night.
Oh, did he?
He just got his ARC copy last night. He was like, it was so funny. I sent it to his phone, and he like looks at it. He looks at me. And he like ran upstairs.
Oh, I can only imagine that feeling of seeing your arcs going out, or you're receiving your first feedbacks from your book, from the work that you just put in, and your heart is out and the world is reading.
I plan on taking a nap for like 2 days.
Do not disturb sign out at your door.
Yeah, I'm gonna just for 2 whole days. I'm gonna turn off my Facebooks. I'm gonna turn off my TikToks. I'm gonna turn off my everything, and I'm just gonna be in my bed.
Just napping for 2 days.
Just a book and a candle, and just be like, nope, not doing anything.
Your arcs are finally out?
No, so ARC acceptance goes out on Thursday, so the 2nd, and then ARCs go out February 28th.
I can't. I'm so nervous for you, because I am so excited for this story. I think your books is one of the most anticipated I had this year. When I first saw your cover, Nemi,
it's so good.
I immediately ran to make a video.
So good.
Who is your It is absolutely, I think it's one of the most beautiful covers I have seen. Like, I have my favorites from like my indie authors, like Natalia Hernandez. I'm obsessed with her cover. Her new cover just dropped too. And seeing all of you covers, who are you reaching out to? Like, who is your artist?
Super secret sauce. The same person who did Natalia's cover did my cover.
I had a feeling it had that vibe. It just represents, because first of all, your MC is plus size.
She's plus size. Yep.
She's absolutely stunning.
She's gorgeous.
And then you have a cadejo in the background, sort of with las garras. I was like, girl. And then you obviously had to show the dress, which is somehow very typical wearing folklore dress in Central America.
Has a story behind it. So
I'm here for it.
Part of you find this out in the book. Part of the whole mating tradition of Cadejo is like a courting. There's like an actual courting tradition behind it. And one of the first things is a courting gift. And that dress is part of her courting gifts. So she gets given a dress just like that, a white dress with black feathers beaded on the hem to hold down the skirt so that, when the ocean breezes come a-breezing, they're not cheeks everywhere. And then she's
not flashing everyone.
She's not flashing everywhere. And then she gets a pair of barrettes, silver and black obsidian carved barrettes to hold her hair back so that she doesn't have to, because she's got curly hair, so she doesn't have to have, her hair down and just going everywhere with the humidity. And then she also gets a pair of earrings, and that is part of her courting gift.
Okay, so I'm going to put the picture down below for you guys to see what we're talking about, because I saw that cover and I was absolutely in love, and it made me even more excited. I was already excited for your book since you mentioned it and we talked about it, but I'm even more excited now because I even remember you and I talking last year about the genre. You having difficulties with the genre of your book because what happened?
I didn't write to a genre. I didn't write for a genre. I just wrote what I wanted to, I wrote what I wanted to read.
Yes.
This is literally a book that I have been searching for. I have been wanting to read. I want dark fantasy romance from Latin America because this is what I want. This is what when I think of fantasy, I don't think of knights and swords and dragons and stuff like that. I think of Xochitl. I think of Aztecs. I think of the jungles. I think of hot sands and volcanoes.
That Latin American folklore and culture and background. Yes, that we don't see often.
So hard.
It just hits different. Because you are from there. It's it's in your blood. So you just feel it differently.
Yeah. So I wrote what I wanted to read, and I didn't think about, what genres it should go into, what little happy boxes it'll fit nicely into. And by the time I was done and sent it over to my betas, I had multiple betas saying, this isn't just dark fantasy, this is magical realism. And I'm like, I don't know anything about magical realism. I've read one book. I don't know anything about it. Wael Zamora and I sat down and we talked about it and talked it out.
Oh, she's the perfect one to talk about.
I love her.
Yes.
Because I have actually thought out the magic system, and even though on page it might seem a little chaotic, I have thought out the magic system completely, and I know every single reason why this and that, and there's limitations to this and that and this and that. Because of that, it's not magical realism, but I really struggled there. I'm like, I don't know anything about it.
When you reached out, I was like, I don't want to misguide you because I have not read your book, but I I am so happy you talked to Wael Zamora because she knows magical realism like nobody's business. Like me and her have talked about magical realism, but you didn't, because it is basically dark fantasy romance. So you didn't go with the magical realism. Because, sometimes when you're going to put your book in a specific genre, you have to be very careful, like I told you, because first of all, magical realism, it's really not well known here in the US as much as it is for us kids of Latin America. have been raised, you know, in Latin America. So I was like, how is that going to work? It's going to fall in a genre that a lot of people might not be interested or familiar or aware of. And, you know, that has to do with your marketing strategy as well.
Yeah. And I also, I mean, I'm in a very privileged position where I am I have the ability to just write whatever I want and enjoy and let the story be and live how it's going to live and not have to worry about, oh, I need to make this as much dollars to make sure the series keeps going. I am in a very privileged position that I don't have to worry about that. So I wouldn't have if it's magical realism, I'm gonna put it in magical realism because that's what it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
So I didn't have to worry about that. But I also didn't want to put it in a genre just to say just to get
fit a narrative.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. So I'm really glad that I got to sit down with YL and that like she helped me work through the fact that those facts of like you've done this work, you've done this work, you've done this work. It wouldn't fit in this because of the things you've already done. I mean, you could change it if you wanted to go into this. These are the things you would have to change.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't want to change it. No.
I'm happy you didn't.
Yeah.
I like to see like honest out of your hard work. I don't like to see when, you know, obviously when you start going big, getting published big, you start being told you need to change this, you need to change that, you need to do this, you need to add that. And it's like, but you are kind of like messing with the author's creative writing, you know, it's her world. So I want to see what the author has to, you know, offer, not like they told her it is going to work or it's not going to work.
Yeah. I didn't even consider traditional publishing for even half a second. I'm stubborn and I have a mouth on me and
you're gonna get in trouble. You are really in trouble all the time on TikTok.
Some tub agent or somebody would be like, you're gonna have to make her not plus size. And I'm gonna be like, you're gonna have to suck my back door.
Then it's like, I don't think so. We are good.
It would not work out. That would not work out for anybody. I never even considered it. It was never even on my radar. It was, I want to do this the way I want to do it. And I want to write what I want to write.
You have literally a full-time job.
Yes.
You're a corporate girly. You are an avid reader. You are an author. You're a mom.
No, I'm a mom to cats.
Still, no, they require less work.
So
doggies will be like a totally different story. Like I don't even know how people have kids and dogs. I can barely handle my kids. And I'm like overwhelmed.
Yeah,
it's
my roommate has a dog. I don't.
Jesus, that's a lot. Yeah. That's like you have to wake up at 5 a.m. to take him out so he can go pee.
Not me.
Obviously, your cat is like self-service, honey.
Yeah, my cat's like, I got my box upstairs.
I'm good.
We live in a 3-story townhouse, and every floor of the house has a cat box. So, because we have 2 cats, just in case. I never want a situation. I would much rather clean more litter.
You never know, your cat's pissed off at you, and it's like, I'm just gonna be right here.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I have, and I was saying this yesterday on a live, is that I have had to get really.
Oh, I was on that live. I heard you.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I brought it up. Because I saw you talking about it. I was like, girl, you organize yourself in your time. I'm jealous. Yeah. Because you have to. How else?
I have to be. Otherwise, and this is what I was finding. I was being very loosey-goosey. Like my work life is actually fairly rigid as it is, but I was being very loosey-goosey about my time outside of my job, and I was finding that nothing was getting done, and I felt like anxious because I was looking at everything going, I don't know what's done, what's not done, and I was freaking out. So I started having to get really, really rigid about myself of, okay, these are my work hours, regardless of whether or not whatever I'm working on is done. I am only working from this time to this time period shut it down. And then I give myself a 30-minute decompression break from actual job to author life. And I have X amount of hours every day during the weekday of author life. And then it gets shut down. And then I go read and relax. And all of that time is very rigid. I have to enforce that with myself, because while it might not feel fun to be like interrupted in the middle of something, or to have this idea for a scene for a novel and wanting to go work on it, and just I can't, because I've already expended my author hours. Well, it's not fun. I have to do it, because in the long run, it without any sort of rigid structures and boxes to shove myself into, I just go way, way, way too far on everything. And I end up getting 2 to 5 hours of sleep instead of 8 to 10 hours of sleep.
Sounds like me. When I decide that I have to pick up the same book that I already read and pretend that I do not know how it ends, and stay up till 3 in the morning reading that book because I have depression and I need my comfort read. And it's like, Jessica, just go to sleep. Just please, you are exhausted. You have a lot going on. Like, what are you doing with your life? Go.
It's almost like you're cheating, like the little tee. I'm
on
cheating.
Yourself?
on myself. Right. Like,
what is wrong with me?
What's wrong with me?
What is wrong with me? But I wanted to play a little bit of your audio. Is it your audiobook with narrator Ruthie?
So I will be doing an audiobook. I'm actually literally this week I'm actually working with them to figure out like the scheduling and stuff like that. But Ruthie Bowles and Corvin King will be dual narrating the audiobook when it comes out. Hopefully we should be starting to record pretty soon. But yes, they did the audio for my book blurb,
which I'm going to play right now.
My life has become anything but my own. The shiny rock, the sensible fiancé, and a forced vacation to El Salvador, courtesy of my insufferable boss. But I play the game for the sake of my mother's aristocratic aspirations and for some peace. Little did I know El Salvador would lead me straight back to a wolfish grin, the one that has me dripping with desire and ready to leave it all and get lost in the jungle. My instincts tell me to run, and a single night's bad decision leads me to a group of cadejo filled with glittering magic, broad smiles, and a twisted secret that will unweave everything I think I know about nightmares.
The girl with the go-effect eyes thought I was joking when I pledged myself to her in that playground. But we were bound in accordance with Totoco law, and 20 years later, my cadejo can wait no longer for the mating ceremony. It's cute that she thinks she's marrying some snotty businessman, as if I'd let a man so unworthy of my Xochitl take her to bed every night. No, now that I have her scent again, the dance is over. Whichever direction she runs, I'll be there, whatever the cost.
Who is he?
That is Corvin King.
I don't know who he is, but girl. Fantastic. First of all, I love Ruthie's voice. So as a narrator, like anything she's in, like I'm down. But when I heard him, I was like, I literally like melted, like pick me up from my floor.
Right.
I told my husband, pick me up, like I'm completely melted. And he's looking at me like, what? I was like, listen to this. And he's looking at me like, what? I was like, never mind.
You're like, you don't get it. You don't.
Good night. Good night to you. I'm going to go listen to this 20 more times. And that's exactly what I did last night. I was like, where is my copy of this damn book? Well, where's my audio? Where's my audio?
You'll start getting more because Corvin is a good friend.
Is he?
Very good friend. He is wonderful. He's working on his accent. He's learning like the languages, the words. Because I have Lenca, I have Nawa, and I have Quechua in the book, as well as Spanish, as well as English. So he's learning some of the words, and as we're going through him learning,
listen, you could have kept it simple, but you went there. You went there.
I did.
all the way. Like,
All the way.
It was either all the way or nothing for you.
Nothing. Yeah. Because like, well, to me, it's like either I'm going to represent my peoples or I'm not.
Or
Because
just
they're like, because like there's no in between. There really is no in between. There is not. But we are going to be putting out some voiceovers of him doing the translations for some of the Nawa and Kachamaya and Lenca phrases that are in the book. So you'll like start learning Nawa and Kachamaya and Lenca from my TikTok too.
Listen, because I listened to this. So I talked to you last night, right? I was like, let me get ready for this interview because I mean, I know you, I see you, like I love you. But I was like, let me go stalk her and see what she's up to. And I came across, first of all, that video that I listened like 100 times yesterday. And I was like, Jesus Christ, please tell me this is like a done audiobook because I'm about to go beg at her door for it.
Not yet. Soon.
Yeah, but that blur had me like melted on the floor. Like, but then I scrolled through your TikTok, right? And you have a video to pronounce the names of your characters, which I absolutely adore because, you know, when you're reading fantasy, like I'm an immigrant, I can barely pronounce like people's names. Now, let's say the ones that you have here, which obviously are of indigenous background.
Yes, some of them are. So interesting story. Only one of those names is actually made up. Only one. Everything else is either from a census from the 1900s or a census from 1985. So they're all actual names that have actually been used in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, and the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to read it and you're going to say it the right way.
Okay.
Xochitl, Angelica Esparza.
Okay.
I said that wrong.
So that name is actually a super, super old name that actually dates back to the Aztec Empire. And there's multiple different ways to say it.
Okay.
The way we use in the book is, and I teach you actually in the book because there's an argument between the characters on how to pronounce her name.
How typical.
He's like, that's not
you
how
hit
you
the nail.
Because
you know, we will have a whole conversation about how to
a whole conversation. So she pronounces it Xochitl. Sorry. She pronounces it Xochitl. And he's like, that's a horrible way to say that. That's ugly. What are you talking about? That's not how you say your name. So the way you say her name is Xochitl. Xochitl.
Oh,
yeah.
I messed that up. Okay. Yeah. Second name. Xochitl Almendares?
Yes. Xochitl.
Oh, that's it.
Xochitl Almendares. So his name is the only one that's actually made up. His first name's made up. His last name.
I would have not thought that was made up. That sounds like literally something I have heard many times before.
No. So when I wrote the prologue, I had already stamped them as Sal and Angie. And I had to figure out.
Whoa.
I had to figure out
right
how
there.
to make Sal a name from Central America.
By the way, Sal means salt.
It means salt.
English.
It means salt. And I
there is people that are named Sal.
Yeah. I didn't realize, like my brain never connected that Sal is salt until like chapter 25. And I was like, well, he is now known as Old Salty Boy.
Grumpy, that's it. It fits with the character vibes. Yes.
It does.
Okay, we have Cesar Osario. Yep. Mama C or Mama Consuela?
Yes. So this was actually something that one of my beta pointed out is I have it listed as Consuela because like I know a ton of Consuelas. It's not Consuela, it's Consuelo. Yes. So in the book it's been changed to Consuelo.
Oh, so it's Consuelo.
In the book it's
Consuelo. both ways are right because there's Consuela. There's very few that I know, but Consuelo is the main known Latin American name.
Yes. So I changed it in the book.
Well, either or, I feel like, you know.
Well, she lives on San Miguel volcano. So like it makes sense that she would have Consuelo.
Suelo.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Now you have Julia.
Mm-hmm.
Nopalsin. Nopalsin.
Nopalsin. Yep.
Nopalsin. Antonio Roque.
Mm-hmm.
Ischel.
Ishel.
Ischel.
Ishel. Ishel.
So without the X. Ischel. Okay.
Ishel.
Ischel. I love that name.
Yes, it's actually a Mayan goddess, a moon goddess.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know that in all of my videos where you see like there's a little banner behind me of like a girl with like a bunny?
Yes.
That's Ishel.
Now I have to go search it.
Yeah, that's the Mayan goddess.
Now I need to learn the story. I did not know that. Shame.
She's very, very fun.
Okay. Manuel or
Manuel.
Ixpiacoc?
Ishpiacoc.
Ishpiacoc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pastora.
Pastora.
Phelix.
Mm-hmm.
Chino. And that's Cheno people.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Chino.
Rafael,
of course.
Kumanavai.
Mm-hmm.
Kumanavai. Hypolita.
Yeah.
Cadmael.
Mm-hmm.
Cadmael. Amanca. You went there.
I did.
Jesus.
I dug deep, man. I was like,
you like literally went to the census.
Yeah, I went to
like, let me pull this out. Let me see who I can name what.
Yeah. And Amanca is actually a name from the 1902 census, and she was 101 years old when the census was taken.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is always fascinating when you see people, especially from the indigenous countryside, that they live up to 105, 110. There's some stories, 115, that's like very normal for them. And these are people that have worked the land up until they can no longer do it.
Yeah,
like I remember they live a hard life, but they live such a long lasting life. And it's like, how is that even possible? I want to thank you so much for taking the time in your busy day to be here with me and talk about your book and talk about you and talk a little bit about everything. It was such a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was, I want to tell you, when my PA said that you wanted to interview me, I was like, you'll know, she's probably listening now. It's like, I freaked. I was like, oh my God. I like had a total fangirl moment. I was like, oh my God, no.
That is so surreal to me. That is so surreal to me because Alira told me the same thing. And it's like, Alira, you realize I adore you. Like I have the people that I follow on my TikTok and that we are constantly watching each other's videos, supporting each other in every Discord that there is to each of one of us needs our help, like our support. And it's like, I love you. How can I not ask you to do this with me? And she's like, Jessie, I'm fangirling. I'm like, stop saying that. Like, I am fangirling that you're actually taking the time of your day to like sit down and chit chat with me.
Listen, here's the secret. And I'm more authors that you talk to, the more you'll figure out this is true. All of us authors just consider us like our own little dumpster fires with a pen. That's like, we're like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're fangirls of us? We are literally just we're just a dumpster fire wrapped in a blanket with a pen. God. What are you doing? Stop.